Come on, guys. You know, man. I know when President Obama used to say that, he said, "Good afternoon, everybody." He would throw that southern drawl and people were like, "Hey, you know, all right, I'm not President Obama. I get it. First of all, thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come down and talk about something that is clearly very, very important. All my colleagues, Councilwoman Gim, Councilwoman Quiñones Sánchez, Councilman Derek Green, Councilman Squilla, Blackwell, Councilwoman Blondo Reynolds Brown, I want to thank them, and Councilman Don. This is an issue, poverty. We've been talking about poverty forever, and I'm probably not going to read my script. But we've been talking about poverty forever. And one thing that's been consistent, unfortunately, the city of Philadelphia is always at the top of the list when it comes to major cities that have the highest poverty. And at some point, you say, you got to do something about that. You can't just keep talking about it and just kind of act like it's not. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all of the work that all of you, the city of Philadelphia, EVA, and the administration, and the state just unveiled an initiative. The Philadelphia delegation, I want to thank them for the work that they did on trying to deal with this very, very troublesome issue. It is an issue that is global. As everybody knows, the economy has changed. Back in the day, for some of us old heads, you can recall when you used to take the train going to wherever, you would go down Glenwood Avenue, along the Northeast Corridor, and literally all on both sides, all you see was factories producing all kinds of goods and services. But the reality is, they're gone. They didn't go to North Carolina, they left the country. And guess what? In spite of what President Trump said, they are not coming back, all right? So there are a lot of contributing factors to the level of poverty that we find ourselves in. But at the end of the day, people elect us and people put us in place, be it elected or appointed or other types of roles, to do something about it. Every now and then the stars align, and I think this is an opportunity where the stars are aligning. First and foremost, we have a good group of council members that from my perspective, have been introducing and producing some of the most progressive legislation since I've ever been here, and I've been here for a little while, as people keep reminding me. And it's focused clearly on individuals who are in the lower income rung as it relates to the city of Philadelphia. And I'm really proud when I talk to people about all of the progressive and the things that people have been doing in the city of Philadelphia. Similarly, the mayor's office and the mayor has been working with us and sponsoring some and working with us to put together. But at the end of the day, it's about measurables. Do you see a significant change in the needle as it moves towards moving people out of poverty or putting people a little farther away from slipping into poverty? Because I can tell you, recently, the TSA workers and all the other government workers, when we had that ridiculous strike recently, a lot of people slipped into poverty as a result of them going without paychecks for a couple of times. So today, we're going to be here, we're going to be unveiling what I believe obviously is a blueprint, narrowing the gap, and there's an intentional graphic. As you see all these wonderful big buildings, actually is my council district. I think Squilla, we got you a little bit in there too. But you also see this row home community, and I hope everybody gets a copy, where there are a lot of challenges. So today, we find ourselves where the stars align. As I mentioned, the administration has been focusing on a number of things. The state, Philadelphia delegation has put out a report that reflects the need to do some things. And at the end of the day, on a local level, the buck stops here. And I mean that literally. The buck stops here because we are the appropriating entity in the city government. We are also the legislative branch of government that would have to produce any legislation that reflects our need to move forward. And at the end of the day, we find ourselves in a decent financial situation where we stabilize our budget, stabilize our school district, and having all of the partners together. We think as we move towards the mayor's budget address this upcoming Thursday, you will see listed in a number of conversations clearly reflected on the notion that whatever is brought before us, and I anticipate that this will happen, we will be focused clearly on dealing with poverty. The issue about the tale of two cities is real. I mean, you go out in certain areas, it's real, right? And it continues, the gap continues to widen. So it is time, we'll be talking about some legislative initiatives today. We will continue on a series of legislative initiatives that focus on these three things here. Housing, which is probably one of the more significant issues, and you'll see that reflected in the document. And most importantly, jobs and education, because without that, your opportunities just simply don't exist in a meaningful way, and we will reflect on the benefits associated with what we need to do to make sure that people have a social safety net. So with that, I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Maria Quiñones Sánchez, and then we'll call up Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you. I want to add to what the council president has said, that despite how proactive council has tried to be over the last 11 years that I've been here, with progressive taxation, whether it's the bird exemption for small businesses, to some of the housing work, to some of the eviction work, the mortgage foreclosure work that we've been recognized around the country, the buck not only stops here, but now we really have to come into action. And I think what we are attempting to do today is really send that message. So at 2:45, I gotta read this because, you know, we don't get a lot of nice notes, particularly during election season, right? But I got this wonderful note, and I want to read it. It says, "Dear Councilperson Maria Quiñones Sánchez," she already knows about your legislation, Councilman Green. "My name is Samaya Dollar Dukes. I am currently 17 and live on the 2400 block of North 5th Street. I think protesting for affordable housing is a good idea because people from around my neighborhood are struggling in the area. I represent this area, I share it with Councilman Clarke. I would also like to congratulate you on getting the city to transfer $19 million to the Housing Trust Fund for affordable housing. It shows that the protesting is working. So keep doing what you're doing. Hope all goes well." Samaya is 17 years old, and she's paying attention. She's paying attention to what's going on in South Kensington, and she's paying attention to what leadership in the city is also doing. So what are we going to do differently from what we've done before? Particularly as the mayor announces his new budget in a couple of days. It is our expectation that not only the office of CEO, that as President Clarke has alluded to, over the last few years has really begun to drill down on policy and anti-poverty policy, which is important work, what we're doing as a city. We should not be foreclosing on people for water. We should not be foreclosing on people because they don't have a plan, a compliance, and a pathway to compliance. We in government should be facilitators that allow people to live with dignity. And every single department in the city of Philadelphia has to ask itself, what are they doing about narrowing the gap? And so whether you're the streets department and it's your job to keep neighborhoods clean, whether it's the police department and it's your job to keep the neighborhoods safe, every department should have an anti-poverty plan. And that's what I'm looking forward to, the public discussion over the next 3 months. I want to thank Council President Clarke and all of our colleagues who in one way or another, Councilwoman Gim just hosted a hearing sponsored by Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds-Brown talking about children's hunger. And sometimes it is frustrating when the bureaucracy trips over itself and fails to make the connection of the dots. If we're feeding 175,000 kids during the school year and we're only feeding 20 or 40,000 in the summer, children are going hungry. So we're going to be more focused, we're going to be more intentional, and we're going to ask every single department, all hands on deck. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As always, I thank God for the privilege of seeing another day, as well as the pleasure to be with all of you. I want to thank President Clarke and all my colleagues who have done a wonderful job in fighting this issue of poverty. I'm proud to be here. I remember more than 7 terms ago when I was married to Lucian Blackwell, and we fought the whole issue of homelessness and hunger. And I thought that by this time, that issue would no longer exist, but it does still exist. So I'm proud now that we're fighting to have tenants have a fund that will help them. I'm proud that also in fair housing legislation, we're talking about landlords and tenants working more together so that landlords know that they have a responsibility as well. And just across the hall, there is a meeting and a hearing on returning women and returning citizens who have to deal with the issue of where we go, where we live, and discrimination in those regards when everybody has to have a place to stay. So I'm honored that my colleagues, all of us work together, all of us accept these issues as serious issues that we have to fight, that we have to try to make better, that our people need us and we have to do our parts to make life better for us all. I look forward to this new legislation. I thank you all for being here. I thank our leadership for standing up for these issues and look forward to working with you in the time to come.
Thank you. Next, Beth. Yeah, Beth McConnell.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth McConnell. I'm the Policy Director at the Philadelphia Association of Community Development Corporations. Thank you, Council President and members of Council, for inviting us to be here today. Even while Philadelphia's unemployment rate has dropped, jobs have grown, and signs of redevelopment are everywhere, our poverty rate is stuck at an absurdly and embarrassingly high 25%. This is irrefutable evidence that a growing city does not automatically mean that life is getting better for everyone. We need deliberate and bold strategies to direct investments to the Philadelphians most in need of opportunity. And PACDC applauds City Council for recognizing this and for doubling down on its commitment to a more equitable city. Providing affordable, healthy housing in great neighborhoods should be at the top of every city's anti-poverty agenda. Research shows that securing good housing can help kids perform better in school, can help break generational cycles of poverty. Stable housing can also lead to improved health outcomes, allowing individuals to focus on other aspects of their lives that can lead to self-sufficiency. City Council, under the leadership of the Council President, Councilwoman Sanchez, and Councilman Squilla, and other members of Council, along with the Kenney administration, have made really important progress just recently by boosting funding to the Philadelphia Housing Trust Fund. And we hope that the administration increases that commitment to $20 million for FY20 as well. But the need far surpasses available resources by magnitudes. PACDC supports many of the recommendations in the Narrowing the Gap report, and we look forward to working with Council, the administration, and other stakeholders to make them a reality. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
So thank you, and I really want to thank you because I know all the work that you have done. So naturally you say, well, where's the meat on the bones? You know, because we've seen a lot of reports and we've seen a lot of discussion happen over this very, very critical issue. So this week, we will be rolling out several pieces of legislation. As earlier, you talked about an affordable housing mandate. Is this working? There you go. Right. Thank you. On affordable housing, I thought somebody cut the mic. They said, oh, he's getting ready to start talking about affordable housing mandate. There should be a clear linkage into the sale of publicly owned land in terms of making sure there are opportunities for the workforce and making sure that there are opportunities for people who will ultimately live in units that directly relate to that sale of that land. You hear what I'm saying? You want to buy some publicly owned land, right? And I keep saying that for a reason. You want to buy publicly owned land, then we want to link it directly with opportunities for low-income individuals and individuals who have been disadvantaged as it relates to the workforce. That is one piece of legislation. Fair chance housing. As earlier referenced in, I think it was Councilwoman Blackwell and Quiñones Sánchez, you know, and I just saw my good friend Mel Wells from One Day at a Time that just walked out. Unfortunately, given the system and the significant numbers of people that have been incarcerated over the years. The fortunate thing that as a result of a lot of initiatives, people are getting out. We're going to close the creek is the term that's used, the house of correction. But the reality is people need to have somewhere to go. And we have seen consistently when people put on that box, well, yeah, I was incarcerated, or somehow it comes out in the conversation, then the person might smile at them, take the application and put it in the trash. If you don't give somebody an opportunity, right, they have a second chance, they have a chance to have reasonable, affordable housing, how do you expect them to be in a position to get their life in order? That will be legislation that we're going to be moving forward. Rental license, number listing. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, the simple reality is there are a lot of people out here renting apartments, right, that frankly speaking shouldn't be rented because of the conditions, and they haven't gotten a license because they know that they wouldn't pass the compliance required by the City of Philadelphia's Department of License, Inspection, and Standards. We want people to make sure that you have the appropriate apartment, the appropriate housing opportunity for people in the City of Philadelphia. Tenant Legal Defense Fund. I got a call from a couple of people. They happen to be lawyers. They said, well, we really like that, right? And some of the landlords are saying, well, you know, why are you paying people to defend those individuals who find themselves in having challenges with landlords? Well, you know what? If we don't figure out a way to do that, then people are at the mercy of unscrupulous landlords. And I got to tell you, without a doubt, the majority of landlords in the City of Philadelphia are good landlords. We've had an opportunity over the last several years to work with a couple of organizations, particularly HAPCO, because I want to call HAPCO out. HAPCO has been a really good partner in working together on a number of initiatives. And last but not least, and I know our lawyers are going to kill me because they haven't completed this legislation yet, but we want to have a balanced approach, right? Got to be balanced. So we think it would be appropriate to provide some sort of relief for landlords who frankly go out of their way and rent to low-income individuals. That's fair, right? And if we can provide a tax credit to a landlord who's going to rent to the least of us in terms of the ability to pay, I think that we should recognize and acknowledge it and give them an opportunity for some sort of a tax credit. So again, the lawyers are working and tweaking it. So that will be our first round this Thursday. We will be moving forward on continuing this dialogue, as Councilwoman said, with respect to our budget process and working with the Kinney administration. And they've been focused on that. I want us to be clear. They have been focused on this, that we want to make sure that at the end of that budget process, we really set the template and the blueprint for narrowing the gap. So with that, I want to thank all my colleagues. Thank you guys so much for your awesome work and your contribution to this document. And we're good for today, and we're ready to rock and roll. So thank you all so much for being here. All right. No questions? Thank you all very much. We out of here. So we weren't really set up with a format for questions, but at the end of the day, please go on the website. For those of you that do not have the document, you can pull it up and you can make sure we have a number of documents here. Please take them with you. And at the end of the day, if you see something that we did not see, there was some oversight, please feel free to contact and give us your recommendation. I want to thank you all so much for your participation today. Thank you.